Not too long ago, my wife and I are in the living room and my kids are playing and we're hanging out and all of a sudden, and if this ever happened to you as a parent, we hear a blood-curdling scream from the other room, and whenever we go to inspect what's going on, my oldest daughter, Salem, has cracked her head open. And there's blood gushing out and she's screaming, and so we run over and we pick her up and we start getting towels together and we're putting them on her head and we're trying to stop the bleeding. And don't forget, we have another daughter, Asher, and she's in the other room and she's concerned about her sister, Salem, but she's not bleeding. And so we end up calling the emergency room and we head over there. We're driving there as fast as we can. And Asher's in the back, Salem's in the back. Salem's crying, she's bleeding. And we get into the waiting room, and while we're getting Salem checked out, Asher's playing in their little play area. She's having a good time. She's concerned about her sister, but remember, she's not bleeding. And as a parent, my whole goal is to stop the bleeding of Salem. It doesn't mean that I love Asher less. It doesn't mean that I love Salem more. It just means that Salem's bleeding and Asher's not. And I couldn't imagine if while in the waiting room, if somebody was to come up to Ryan and I as we're trying to make sure that my daughter Salem's okay, if they came up to us and said, why don't you spend more time with your daughter Asher? Why don't you pay more attention to Asher? Because no one would do that, because they know there's bleeding happening right here that we need to deal with. And right now in our society and in our culture, there's bleeding happening in the African American community. And I'm not African American. And here's what I can tell you. As a white male, I may not know a lot, but I'm not bleeding. And if you are a Caucasian watching this right now, here's what I can assure you. You're not bleeding. And there's someone bleeding right now. There's a community bleeding right now. Like I said, I don't know a lot. I'm not a very smart individual, but I do know that I'm not bleeding. And I know that there are brothers and sisters that are bleeding. And my goal in life is to help stop the bleeding.